Repeat. Count 7, 4, end.
Stop music. Stop the music. Just give me a minute. Give me a minute, okay? I want to talk to these guys. Give me a minute. Before we really get into the show, I just want to talk to you guys directly, kind of breaking the broken fourth wall here, if you will. I wasn't going to do this show. I had something else in mind, and I was just going to let this one go. It was recommended on Facebook, but I thought, no, that's way too nitpicky. That's just... Yeah. But then last night, I saw one product. And that's what sent this whole concept flying off the rails. So keep that in mind as I'm doing this show, that there's one thing that really is the catalyst for this. And when I get there, I think you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, let's do this show, let's go! When we're talking about the difference between Tacticool and Tacticool, I think one thing that we can pretty much universally agree upon is that Tacticool is when you reach the tipping point. Because let's face it, you show up to the field and you're wearing your camouflage and you're holding your Tippin, that's one thing. You show up to the field wearing ACUs and you're wearing an Army patch on one side and a Navy patch on the other side. You've got a gun that's almost as tall as you are, and you've got scopes and stuff hanging off of the rails. Yeah, you're just awesome. So really this entire series is kind of trying to find the tipping point. Where do you go off the rails? Where does it find? And the industry, they changed the rules on me. I should explain. You see, the paintball industry has for a long time now been making what they call tactical gear. And that's basically their old stuff with camouflage, rebranding it, and they throw it back out there. But very recently, they've changed the rules on me because now they're making gear specifically for the woods market. And it's become obvious, at least to me, that they're taking one of two camps on this. The first one is, well, they're not doing their homework, but they're just copying what they see other people doing and figuring it must work. Or they are doing their homework and they realize that, oh, well, this is going to be like a 1, maybe 2 year bandwagon. Let's throw as much stuff as we can in the smallest amount of time and it'll be cool. So as a part of that, each one of these companies now is trying to brand their name and try to get a specific look that's going to be specific to them. I think the idea is that sitting in the parking lot, they want somebody to be able to look across the way and say, hey, you're one of those guys, I know what kind of person you are, and go back into that branding thing I was talking about some weeks ago. I should explain one other thing here too, is that the camouflage industry is a multi-million-dollar-a-year industry, if not multi-billion-dollar-a-year industry. I can't find any numbers just on a casual search. You do not want to know how much money is spent so that some city slicker who has no concept of what they're doing can go out into the woods and outsmart a four-legged creature that has no real offensive capability whatsoever. Then again, I also don't want to think about how many millions of dollars are spent every year so somebody can try to outsmart a fish. So honestly, it really should not surprise me that all these companies are trying to make their own camouflage. So I'm going to take a step over here and show you this one first. Everybody's familiar with the die cam that I already talked about way back when. The die cam really kind of strikes me as basically their proto line rebranded for the woods ball market. When you see the black stuff, you can kind of see the proto heritage into it. But the one thing I do want to talk about is their camouflage, because the camouflage seems lazy to me. It honestly feels like some 6-year-old borrowing his daddy's nice shirt, putting it on backwards and using it as a painting smock. That's kind of what it looks like. And there are some companies that you can tell are just not even trying, like the Angel camouflage over here. Yeah, that's just lazy. That's not even really trying. And it's actually the one of the camouflage they make is borderline offensive too. But I think that's Angel's kind of stock and trade. They just want to see how many people they can piss off before they get thrown out of the industry. And then you have some companies like Valken, and I'm actually going to surprise a bunch of people because they did something kind of right. They went with established camouflage patterns and they just produced stuff in that camo. For the most part. They did try to create their own VTAC line over here, which when you think about it, looks a lot like the BT stuff that came out around the same time. And both those patterns really reminded me of something else that I've seen before. Oh yeah, multicam. Multicam is hugely popular and it's also very sought after and it's a really expensive thing to license. So it doesn't surprise me when I see knockoffs, but let me show you something that actually is multicam. This is from Kyrie. But yeah, these are some pants that are made for people who actually do see combat. And oh, what's the MSRP on those real quick? Yeah, so yeah. But damn if those don't look cool. But they're not the only ones that kind of take inspiration from multicam. I mean, look at the Eclipse stuff over here. But the Eclipse line, they do a lot of the stuff right. I mean, they got a lot of the standards on there. They got the hook and loop on the shoulders, and they got the nameplate, which a lot of places have. That's not a problem. It's when I got to the pants and I realized that they put molly rigging on the back of the thigh. Back of the thigh. Now, let me show you a close-up of this. Look at this. They're trying to do it. It's not even real molly gear. You can tell by looking at it. Your standard molly stuff is not even going to fit on this. And even if it did, what would you put on the back of your thigh? I mean, the first baseball slide that you do, you're either going to ruin all the stuff that's back there or you're going to maul yourself on it. And this is what I mean by trying too hard. This is what I mean by looking at what's out there and saying, let's cram as much as we can in the smallest amount of space that we can. You don't have to put everything on your stuff. And I can already hear a bunch of people say, ow, jeez, finger's not happy, so no puppet today, guys. But I can already hear people saying that I'm already a hypocrite because, well, didn't you work for a company? Aren't you sponsored by a company that basically did that? Yeah, okay, that's actually why I'm wearing this. This is actually stuff that was made for Elite Weekend in 2007, and I've done videos in the past while I was wearing some other stuff from Spec Ops. But in my mind, the difference is that the camouflage came first, the logo came second. I mean, look at what I'm wearing right now. Can you guys actually see a Spec Ops logo on this? For those of you who are actually trained for it, you might be able to, but let me get nice and close to the camera and show you. That's it. It's when you're trying to brand your name with a specific kind of camouflage pattern, that's when I think you reach that tipping point. And that's actually where we're going to bring up the scale over here. So let's try to do a rating on this. Although this is going to be very difficult for me because, well, I'm not exactly talking about one specific thing, I'm talking about a concept. And on one hand, wearing camouflage is a tactical thing to do because if you're going out into the woods, wearing anything that's a subdued colors is going to be a lot better than wearing nothing like that at all. So yeah, that's kind of more on the tactical side. But on the other hand, you've got the idea of, hey, I'm going to brand myself out and I'm basically going to buy into this idea of, hey, you know, if I'm wearing this particular brand name, this is the kind of player that I associate with, this is the kind of thing that I want you guys to associate me with, and that's kind of more on the Tacticool side of things. So as much as I understand I'm going to make my poor arrow schizophrenic over here, I'm going to put this a little more on the Tacticool side of things, but not nearly as much as you might think I would. Because the thing is that a lot of this clothing is meant to look good in the store. It's meant to look good in the parking lot. It's meant to make it look like, hey, I am good at this, I know what I'm doing. But I can already hear a bunch of these companies saying, well, we did our research, we spent a lot of money on this. Well, it doesn't show. What it really honestly looks like is that you just wanted to find a nice subdued way to sneak your logo in as much as possible so that if somebody manages to get a picture of a guy playing out in the woods, your logo is going to be plastered all over it too. And the other thing is that when you're talking about clothing manufactured for paintball itself, that's going to work a little bit better than just BDUs. Now, I've used BDUs for many years, and BDUs work just fine, but having paintball specific pants that actually have stretch gussets and stuff, that's going to be a lot handier, and I can't fault them for that. But honestly, it really does smack me in the face of branding, and that's why it's kind of more on the Tacticool side, because if you're wearing this stuff, odds are you're associating yourself more with that brand name affiliation than you are looking for something that's going to actually hide you effectively in the woods. That and putting molly gear in the back of your leg, why would you do? What kind of sense? It doesn't make it. Look, making your gear because a focus group says it's cool and making gear that actually works when you're playing are two completely different things. That's all I'm going to say about that. I'm done.